Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Lucas, thank you. Ashley, thank you. It's been a few years since I've been here. Appreciate all that you do for the University of Toledo. That said, and how I approach opportunities like this, it is intended to be a conversation. I'm not going to speak at you tonight, but want to hear your thoughts, ideas, and concerns. But before we go there, maybe just a little bit about myself, which I'm sure many of you already know this, but those that are new to hearing me speak. Proud graduate of the University of Toledo, College of Business. Have been at the university now almost 28 years. Completely humbled by the opportunity to lead this university in a period of change, and obviously change is much greater than what is going on at the University of Toledo. Obviously nationally there are a lot of things, not only in the news, but that are impacting each and every one of you and higher ed in general. Not only did I attend the University of Toledo, but my two younger brothers attended the University of Toledo. My father attended the University of Toledo, so I understand how this place can literally change lives and the opportunities that it affords all of us, not only while we're here on campus, but when we go out into the real world after graduation. That being said, I've had the pleasure of working closely with Lucas and Ashley over the course of this year. Lucas last year, hearing our students, seeing our students, even though I'm not at every event, even though emails may go into the generic president's email box, we try and hear and see everything and be responsive. I know there is a lot going on, which I'm sure we'll dive right into that, tied to Senate Bill 1, some of the executive orders that's really been taking place probably since late January. So that being said, maybe I'll open it up to the conversation part of tonight. Who wants to ask the first question?
So we're going to have mics so that everybody can hear you. We're going to have just one mic? Two mics. And just be patient and wait your turn, and we appreciate you.
Excellent. And so before you ask the question, just real quick, my approach, I'll do my best to answer every question. If there are questions where I don't know the answer, we will get that answer. We will circle it back with Lucas and Ashley. And if there are questions that, based on timing, or we just simply don't know, I will do my best to tell you why. So, go ahead.
Thank you for coming, Mr. President. My question to you is, you as president, how are you going to support students that are feeling a sense of disillusionment at the moment and that really don't know what is going to happen?
Yeah, so I think support, number one, comes in the form of actions, right? So we don't know, we know that Senate Bill 1 passed the Senate. We know House Bill 6 is making its way through the House. We know that there are active conversations. And so number one, I think for the student body to assume that the universities that make up the 14 publics in Ohio are not doing anything would be false, right? Like you, and I strongly encourage you to actively participate in the process in Columbus, there are multiple conversations going on behind the scenes as it related to not only Senate Bill 1, but House Bill 6. Your voices are loud and they're stronger together. I know many students from around the state have gone down to Columbus for the opponent testimony to Senate Bill 1. I encourage you to go down for House Bill 6. But I also encourage you with state representatives like Josh Williams and others, who's a proud U Toledo graduate, who attended our College of Law, reach out to your state representatives as well, because they are here for you. Now, as it relates to what does the future look like, assuming that House Bill 6 and Senate Bill 6 combine and the governor signs, I think it's important for the University of Toledo to demonstrate support through actions. So, as things change, as funding changes, I think it's most important, and the provost office is working on this right now, is making sure that the resources are still in place as it relates to student success, and making sure that all of our students have the wraparound services and the support to make sure that their experience here celebrates differences, is a safe environment, and that these students can be successful.
Thank you.
Before anybody else speaks, there are many people in here that do not have speaking rights. So we just need to go ahead and motion for everybody to be able to have speaking rights so we can continue with the questions. Go ahead, Persephone, sorry.
Motion to grant all students speaking rights.
Thank you. And also one more thing, please remain constructive with your questions. And if you have a question, please have like a set answer that you're truly looking for. Don't leave it open-ended. Be direct, be honest, and be genuine. So that's it.
Before anything, I would like to thank you for coming to speak to us, as well as acknowledge you speaking to us. But along those lines, your acknowledgement on the issues at the university have not only been vague or have had an entire lack thereof. And so along that, I would like to ask you, why has there not really been any verbalized statement from you regarding not only racial tension, but DEI since Senate Bill 1 has began to be moved through the state?
Yeah, so I think that's a question not only for the University of Toledo, but a much broader question, right? So we have, the Senate Bill 1's been moving through where it is heading, and then you layer in, I think in late January, what came to us out of the federal government and the Trump administration as it relates to DEI. I think universities like Toledo are still trying to figure things out. So we've had multiple meetings with leadership to try and understand what does all of this language mean. Are these executive orders now law? Are these executive orders going to be met with temporary restraining orders, which many of them have? And then as it relates to the state of Ohio, is it going to become law? And what can we do behind the scenes? Right now, I think it's most important for the collective student body, not only at the University of Toledo, but across the state of Ohio, to really understand that administration, along with your representatives, are working quietly behind the scenes. But right now, the politics that's in play, there are ways to do things quietly to try and have an impact, and then there's also ways to do things that can be quite disruptive. And so what we are attempting to do, knowing that you have the top job in the country, the President of the United States, pushing down the DEI agenda, that we have the state of Ohio following suit, is we are trying to navigate that. And we are also trying to do it in a way to where, you know, the student body, there's a lot changing right now. And I think what I can say to everyone tonight, number one, being here, is that we see you, we hear you, we support you, but there's a lot that we still don't know yet.
And so in regard to that, you see us, hear us, and acknowledge us, but does that still justify not having a singular statement on your behalf prior to today?
And what statement would you like us to make?
In regard to other universities around the state of Ohio, whether it be Bowling Green, Cincinnati, Ohio, Akron, any school, they've at least acknowledged what's going on with Senate Bill 1. They've had their president write a statement, they've had their faculty write a statement, so on and so forth. We have not had that luxury, and we are realizing that it's a luxury because we would expect it to be something that just is commonplace.
Yeah. So, number one, I'm here tonight. I support you. If I need to put that in writing, I'll put that in writing. I would find it interesting if you could show me a president that's shown up at a student meeting on this topic at all. Number two, all you have to do is look at the Cincinnati Enquirer. I think it came out yesterday. And what Dr. Pinto did and his position statement and some of the actions that he's taking, what I would say prematurely, that has created a dramatic ripple effect and frankly a divisive ripple effect down at the University of Cincinnati. So we are trying to strike the balance of understanding where is law heading, what do we have to do, where are there some areas for interpretation, and being very thoughtful about that. I would hope that me being here tonight, and again, I don't shy away from any questions, signals to our student body that we care and we want to be accessible.
I appreciate
And I'm going to give you one more question and we're going to move on.
That's completely fine. I appreciate your answer, but it still almost beats around the bush. It wasn't the acknowledgement of sitting in a conference and speaking to us. It was any sort of statement that can be had to ease the minds of the students and not have the students try to ease their minds between themselves. Because that shouldn't be our job regarding something that is regarding state law and what the university is doing with their policy.
Yeah, I think what the student body needs to understand is that whatever becomes law, we're going to follow, right? We are going to do our best to interpret the law for the benefit of the student body. Now, if that law becomes that all investment in DEI needs to go away, what is the University of Toledo going to do? We are going to probably take those resources and reinvest in student success, right? It's not going to be, oh, we have a windfall of X number of dollars and we're just going to afford it. No, we're going to take those dollars and we're going to pivot so that our students can be successful and our students can continue to celebrate their differences in a safe environment.
Much applause.
Thank you. Also, I'm sorry, I keep stepping in, but if you're here specifically representing an organization, please introduce yourself, say your first and last name, and what organization you're here to represent. If you're not, just introduce yourself.
Okay, hello, I'm Elena Westrick. I'm a member of UTSG. And I was just wondering, to circle back to the first answer to the first question, has the state reached out to the universities that make up Ohio on your guys' opinion regarding it, as well as what capacity has that been?
Yeah, so the way the state of Ohio works, great question by the way, is there's an inter-university council. So the 14 public universities, including Ohio State, the presidents get together on a regular basis. And we believe, probably similar to many of you in this room, our power is our collective voice, right? And so what we've been doing, working through the Inter-University Council, is behind the scenes, working with whether it's Senator Serino, Young on the House side, to make our voice known. We've also been working with them to try and refine, because we understand the momentum behind Senate Bill 1 and House Bill 6 is real. We understand that some version of it is going to become law, and so we've been working with them behind the scenes to try and tweak components of that. And that has been an approach that over the years has worked really well with IUC, or within the state of Ohio with the IUC, versus individual schools going rogue and trying to do things.
So I saw Tripp's hand and then Danielle's hand.
Good evening, President Schroeder. Before I start, I'd like to thank you for taking the time tonight to hear questions and concerns from the student body. Your presence here is certainly appreciated. A little bit of a long one, but yeah. My name is Tripp Floyd. I'm a junior studying media communications here at UT, and I serve as a student ambassador for the College of Arts and Letters, a part-time member of Student Gov, and I'm the assistant station manager for 88.3 FM, WXUT, our college radio station. I've lived in Toledo my entire life, and I share an alma mater with you in Central Catholic High School, where I graduated in 2022. When choosing to attend Central Catholic, three things really swayed my decision. I knew it was a place that would help me succeed, and I had a strong family tie through my dad, who you graduated with. But most importantly, I understood it held perspectives different from my own, and I knew that my own perspective was not good enough in order to fully experience and understand the world we live in. The world was not my predominantly white, upper-class Catholic grade school in Sylvania, so I chose a school that introduced me to all walks of life. My fellow students were rich, poor, white, African-American, Latino, straight, gay, and transgender. Regardless of those differences, I learned they were not something to be ashamed or afraid of, but that we should respect, celebrate, and share them with one another. As a student, I've continued to seek and understand different perspectives in my college experience. One of the things that I think makes U Toledo great is the opportunity for different people and cultures to express themselves in their student experience and succeed through that, whether through student organizations and the efforts of their members, campus events, or university offices like OMSS. I'm speaking to you today in a political climate where animosity, ignorance, and outright wrath against students belonging to marginalized groups, some of which have worked really hard just to get here, has been the agenda for too long. There are many things that Senate Bill 1 would hurt at UT. At the very least, the stripping of collective bargaining for university faculty is troubling. But the banning of these, quote, DEI initiatives will be extremely harmful to students who belong to historically marginalized groups and their student experience. I know that offices like OMSS provide so much critical support to students who might not have that privilege elsewhere. I know that student orgs like the Black Student Union, GLSU, ISA, and SAGA allow students to find solidarity and strength in their identity and let them express that freely. Having these organizations on campus along with OMSS shows that U Toledo's student community welcomes all, that there is a place for them here as a rocket. As someone who struggled at first but succeeded in finding that place, I would never want anyone to have to face that problem, amplified only because of their identity. President Schroeder, as a Toledo native and Rocket alum, I understand there is no one who wants the university to succeed more than you. I personally see you as someone who could turn the tide and lead UT to better days ahead, and I hope you'll still be here come next fall. However, the good work you and your staff have done thus far could all come to a crashing halt should Senate Bill 1 be signed into law. The effects of Senate Bill 1 on U Toledo would be devastating to campus culture, to the faculty and the academic rigor of our institution, to the student experience, and especially enrollment. I understand that in some cases your hands are tied due to the orders of the federal and state government, but the world is not the Ohio State Legislature and the laws it passes in spite of over 800 pieces of public testimony against Senate Bill 1. It is all the people who live in it, regardless of the labels society puts on them. I believe we have a great example of it here at U Toledo. I believe the university should continue to encourage all perspectives to grow, not just ones allowed by the government. My question to you is this: is the university willing to stand with the student body should SB 1 or other orders like it come to pass? And what would those efforts look like? Thank you for your time.
No, great question. Nicely done. Nicely done. So let me try and unpack a lot of that, and then hold me accountable to your question because I'll lose my way here. So number one, there are 450 plus or minus student orgs at the University of Toledo. I referenced the due diligence that we're currently doing as it relates to all of the ins and the outs of Senate Bill 1. One of the items that we're doing, it's called funds flow. So I think there's language in there that essentially prohibits, university resources going to fund student organizations that are, tied to their generic definition of DEF, right? We have to understand, because in my opinion, and I may get myself in trouble here, but when students contribute to the general fee, it's for the students by the students, right? And that general fee goes to student organizations, it goes to other services, mental health, etc. at the University of Toledo. What we are navigating there is not only the funds flow, but are those state dollars or those student dollars, right? So this is where it gets complicated and where I know through my eyes, through Sammy's eyes and the team's eyes, we have to utilize common sense, right? Now, if there are dollars coming out of the state of Ohio and, the state is going to sort of hold those purse strings hostage, that's a little bit different. But how the local dollars come in via students to the general fee, how those dollars are utilized, we have to do appropriate due diligence there and use common sense so that those organizations are not destroyed, number one, right? So more work to do there. Number two, standing with the students. I will always stand with our students. I will always stand with our patients. I will always stand with our faculty and staff when we have to stand up and do what's right. It's a balance, though, and as you have law come down, not only from the feds, but also at the state level, where the feds are looking at Title IV, which is all of the student financial aid, it's Pell, and then you have the state of Ohio that's looking at state share of instruction, OCOG, which many of our students get the Ohio College Opportunity Grant, and are saying you have to play by our rules, or we're going to pull your Pell funding, we're going to pull your OCOG funding. Who does that impact the most? It impacts the students. And so it is a tightrope that we have to walk, where we have to stand together, but also understand that at the end of the day, our opportunity is right now to inform what that piece of legislation ultimately looks like. And then however it is approved, which I believe it will be approved, we then have to operate in that box of navigating state law while supporting the beliefs of the University of Toledo, which is to celebrate differences and to make sure that our students are successful, feel safe, and feel welcome. Follow-up question?
What would that look like for OMSS if SB 1 were to be passed?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to defer to student affairs on OMSS. What I do know, and I believe it's Aaliyah Jones that runs OMSS, she's a rock star. Number one, right? Absolutely. Is Aaliyah here tonight? All right, you guys stand up. Stand up for a round of applause. Aaliyah's not going away, right? I mean, she has been a resource for the student orgs, for the student body. She exemplifies what the University of Toledo is and what we expect out of our staff, out of our faculty. How we navigate DEI, how we navigate OMSS, all to be determined. But individuals like Aaliyah and her team and what they do for the student body, we have to figure that out. But Aaliyah is not going away. Aaliyah will continue to be a resource and an advocate for the students at the University of Toledo.
Thank you.
Yep. Aaliyah, you have anything to say?
Thank you. I love you all. That's it. I'll cry.
But I think, Aaliyah knows me maybe better than many of you, and we just went through something with, and this maybe opens up another series of questions around scholarships and some of the language that's come out of Columbus from the Attorney General's office, since followed up by a Dear Colleague letter from the feds. But I think, and I'll use Diamante as an example, under my leadership, we're really trying to go out of our way, again, to use common sense, be creative, and find solutions. And I think we found a solution with Diamante, and we'll continue to find solutions. Yes.
Hi, my name is Danielle Lopez. I am the PR chair for the Global Latin Student Union. I am also a member of Delta Delta Delta, and I actually am a Toledo Christian alum. I actually ran Girls on the Run with your youngest daughter. She's great. Very nice girl. I guess.
I feel like you guys know more about what my daughters are doing than I do.
Yeah, they're great. I only met the youngest one though. I appreciate you being here. It means a lot, I think, to the student body. I also appreciate you going to the Diamante Award, which we spoke there as well. And you also helped us get our GLSU scholarship back, which meant a lot. We believe that you're a man of your word, and we also believe that you want to do what's best for the students, and what's best for the students is putting up a good fight in whatever you can humanly do to keep our organization safe, our DEI offices safe, and just campus community. How would you go about that in the future if you were to be president in the future?
Yeah, well, so great question again. Whether I become permanent president or not, unfortunately, the timeline that all of this is on, I will be in this seat, right? This is not going to slow down, and I think the way I understand the timing, this will all probably play out before many of you leave for summer break. And so that said, and maybe some expectation setting with this group, and I appreciate your firsthand accounts of just demonstrating who I am as an individual. And I know many of you are also very, not only passionate, but, live up to your promises and your word. That being said, as we navigate this together, we're going to have to utilize some creativity. And what I mean by that is, as we know things today, they're going to be different, right? What we know who we are as the University of Toledo, and if we're not willing to be open-minded as we navigate this with you, and Student Affairs navigates it with the various student organizations, if you expect everything to be the same as we stand here today on, the 25th of February, and to be the same the 25th of February in 2026, that's not going to happen, right? Just based on what we're seeing out of DC and in Columbus. And so as we enter the next month to 2 months, how we navigate this new landscape, how we work within the legal guidelines, there will need to be creativity. But creativity that's thoughtful, because they've already telegraphed out of DC, out of Columbus, no shenanigans, no changing this, that, or the other thing. And I get that and I understand that. But what it looks like going forward, not only at the student org level, but I know our students well. I know what the typical Toledo student looks like. I see it in this room. There are very few students that are full-pay students. Just about every single person in this room has some type of not only scholarship, but aid, whether it's subsidized or unsubsidized loan, or Parent Plus loans. So how you're stacked up, you do not look like a University of Michigan student, you don't look like an Ohio State student, you do not look like a Miami of Ohio student. And so not only do we have to fight for day in and day out operations, we also are going to have to be very creative and thoughtful as it relates to scholarships and the distribution of scholarships. And what we have been doing there, working through all of our race-based scholarships and starting to work through gender-based scholarships, is we were structuring them in a way where we were giving preference. Not based on gender, not based on race, but giving preference in order to work around it. Now, the feds have just said in their Dear Colleague letter, no preference. Preference is off limits. So here we go again, round two. And I've said this, and I will continue to say it, scholarships sitting on the sideline is a pet peeve of mine. When I was at the foundation, it drove me nuts knowing the need that our students have. We cannot have scholarships sitting on the sideline. We're going to have to work with donors. We're going to have to amend fund agreements again, but we have to get these dollars out there.
Thank you. Also, being a man of your word, like you had said earlier, that we could maybe possibly expect a statement. If that does happen, when would we be able to see that, and when can we expect it for?
No, that's a fair question. I want to see a little bit more of what's going to play out in Columbus, and then also with the Dear Colleague letter, we've heard there's going to be additional guidance coming out of the feds. What I don't want to do, and again, I'll point to Cincinnati as the example, I don't want to come out with a statement prematurely and all heck and anxiety break loose. I don't think that does anything to help calm any of the nerves that are in this room. Number two, intentionally wanted to be here tonight. Now, the date worked out. We had talked about this for a long time, but what did not ever cross my mind to cancel. I wanted to be here to talk to you. But if you could give the administration, not just Matt Schroeder, a little bit more time to really digest what does it mean in terms of, okay, DEI is off the table according to the feds and the state of Ohio. What does that look like, right? What does it involve? New hire orientation? Does it involve different position descriptions? What's the impact on student orgs? We're working through all of that right now.
Thank you.
Please keep your hands high so I can see you. Higher, even higher than that, thank you. I think I saw your question, but I just want to have one other person speak before you speak, since you had 3 questions earlier. Let's do the person in the back. I don't know your name. And you'll get a mic, and you can introduce yourself, and if you represent an org, please say which one.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brooklyn Gregory. I am a senior here at the University of Toledo, and I am the president of the NAACP. On campus, I am also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and a general member of the Black Student Union. My question is, because you just spoke about not causing too much anxiety or just trying to make sure that we're not too hashed in our decisions on the statement, what is, aside from the statement, what is something else that you can give us students to look forward to and comfort, knowing that things are going to change, of course, because of legislation, but how can we be a part of that change? How can we be integral in what Toledo will look like for years to come after that legislation?
So I'm going to take that question, I'm going to put it out to this group, right? So I'm not walking in your shoes. I don't know what it's like to walk in your shoes. Understanding what is happening right now, understanding this is our collective university, what would you like to see out of administration? What would you like to see out of your faculty? What would you like to see, out of the staff that not only supports student government, but the student orgs? What does that look like in your eyes? Because it's one thing for a 50-year-old to stand at the podium and to think he knows, along with his team, what it's like to walk in your shoes. That would be silly and premature. So you folks are living this right now. What would you like to see out of your leadership team?
Especially in the time of now, Unfortunately, we don't really see as much administrative coming out to events or like just getting to know us as students. I think that simply will go a long way because it'll build a relationship between the two of us that help us to feel like we can trust that you are speaking out for the best intention of us. I think that is something that will go a long way for all students, not just students of marginalized communities. And then I also think that when it comes to formulating a plan, once that legislation unfortunately is passed, before the end of the year, maybe we pull students from all different walks of life, different organizations to meet, to think about like we did with the student success plan, what that may look like. We may have the chance to read over it before it's, put into place for all of the students. I think those are things that will help build that relationship, that we won't have to fear that, this could be the last that things are normal. This could be the last of, the things that are good in a sense. I think that is probably a great jumping off point, and I would love like for other students to put their input as well, because I don't want to speak for everyone.
No. So real quick before any other feedback or suggestions. So number one, really try to make it to events. If there are any student orgs that have upcoming events, I know there's a fashion show on Friday, I know we've got Song Fest coming up, I know we've got Dance Marathon coming up, but please reach out to my office. Obviously, we cannot accommodate everything, but I have really tried to go out of my way, and having worked with the last 4 presidents, I understand the value and the importance of being out there and engaging with our students in a very genuine and meaningful way. And so if there's anything that you want me to attend, or better than just me, senior leadership to attend, the deans to attend, please let us know. We are happy to do that. We want to support you, through our actions, through our presence. Number 2, I think that's a great idea, and you're absolutely correct. The Student Success Plan is a fabulous example where I think there was a couple drafts and then engagement with the students. I'm going to look to Dr. Span behind you, though. Sammy, I think that's something we could work with the students and accommodate, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other suggestions?
Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your answer as well. Appreciate that.
So I saw this hand over here, right behind Tyler. Whoever that is, I don't know who that is. If you could stand up and introduce yourself, and if you represent Nora, please do.
Hello, I'm Leonardo Michaka. I'm the president of Outside International Incorporated, as well as I'm a member of the Multicultural Greek Council. So you've mentioned throughout this whole time that you're here to stand for the students, and you are, as much as you know that SB1 will likely, pass, and there will be changes. You're working your best to, have the impact in those changes and make sure the students are heard, and make sure we're meeting our standing students' needs. I will say that we've seen a lot of U Toledo being proactive to these changes, kind of like with the name changing of BLX and the looking towards renaming and basically removing the gender-neutral bathrooms. And with these proactive movements, I'm just curious how the purpose of them and how you expect us to feel as students when it is perceived as the idea of kind of laying down before the fight's over.
Yeah, so we're not laying down. So there's a bunch of things going on in that question. So number one, I have been very, I'd say detailed with our team that until it becomes law, we're not doing anything. The bathroom, and we call it the bathroom bill, that is completely separate than Senate Bill 1, and I think that went live or became law just within the last few days. I think the governor signed it 90 days ago, it's now law. So that is completely different, and how we've been working through and navigating that is something that has been all hands on deck, not only on the academic side, but the clinical side. We have not, and I look to Sammy and others to chime in, but tied to Senate Bill 1, House Bill 6, federal executive orders, we have not done anything yet. We are still very much in assessment, due diligence mode, working with legal to really understand what is this going to look like and what do we have to do versus where do we have some room to maneuver.
Thank you, Leo, for your question. We'll come right over to you.
While you get ready to answer, there are approximately 6 small groups that are meeting, everyone from the clinical side, auxiliaries, and the provost side of the house that are dealing with each one of these issues. So the bathroom bill, there's probably, I think, 12 of us on call that have been meeting probably sometimes twice a week to go over those things. So a lot of this you're talking about, what the president is alluding to, are conversations that are being had outside of the space here and outside of the president's cabinet. Well,
Thank you, Sammy. Yes, sir.
I'm Joshua Blue. I'm a third-year law social thought major. I'm also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I have a question. Over the weekend, I was out of town, and I was looking on the Toledo Instagram, and I saw some things that rubbed me the wrong way. There was, as many of you know, a protest at the game on Friday, and I saw the protest in a group chat from the Black Student Union. But when I go on the U of Toledo Instagram, I see a bunch of black students holding chicken signs. And so, does the university, whoever runs the Instagram, does anyone understand the context of how that could be offensive, and how when you have a protest the same day and then you turn around and post that of black students, even if it was a promotion of anything, do you understand how that looks and how that looks to those students? That you're kind of just overlooking their voices and just posting them in a stereotypical way with that has stereotypes attached to it.
Yeah, they understand that now. Absolutely, they do. And I personally read the 90 or so comments on Sunday morning associated with that. We have to be better as an organization. I was at the game. I did not, though, see the protest. I was running around like a crazy person. But again, this is the beauty of a university campus, not tied to, we have to be better, tied to what we put out on social media, but the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech, and everything that I've read as it's coming down the pike from the feds and elsewhere, nobody is talking about free speech. Yes, sir?
Is the post is still up on the Instagram?
Is it?
Yes, I just checked.
Okay. All right, so question to this group, because I know people take heat when they pull stuff down, so I'm going to follow up. Are we good with the university taking that post down? Okay. All right.
Hold on, wait. We have a point of order, we have a system. I know the person right next to him had a question, unless you want to postpone for her to respond or ask a question to the question.
All right, question number 4.
My question was, with these lofty promises that you're presenting, promises presenting to be equal regarding race, sexuality, anything that DEI falls under, how can we entrust you to have our backs regarding that when you haven't had our backs regarding any tensions that have been on campus to even acknowledge that they've happened? For example, an RA today had our Black History Month board taken down just in our resident hall. That means that the climate of the university feels that that is a normality to have. At other schools, stuff like that doesn't happen. And that means that the student body is comfortable enough to just do something like that. Whether it was that incident months ago, etc. There just hasn't been any acknowledgement from you on these tensions that happened, whether also sexual or religious, and the only one that was acknowledged was one months ago, or not even months ago, well over a year now. So I just want to say, how can we trust you to have our backs regarding our programs if you can't even mention something that's tension-based on campus?
So, number 1, I haven't been in this job for longer than 10 months, so I can't speak to over a year ago. I will speak to the event that went down in the fall, where I sent out a message to campus community. Zero tolerance, from my mind, or from my perspective. Number 2, I do not know about the hall incident. Has that hit student affairs radar yet at all?
Yes.
And then I'm going to guess student code of conduct. We're nipping it in the butt. We're handling it.
Right, it just came.
Okay. Okay. So we are immediately addressing that, correct? Okay, all right. So, and what Dr. Span is doing there, that is my expectation, right? And I don't hear and see everything Dr. Span does though, and I trust Dr. Span, and so when things like that happen, it's my expectation that residence life, student affairs, student code of conduct, Title IX, whatever it may be, is addressing that immediately. I go back to my fundamentals that whatever the future looks like, we have to create a safe and welcoming campus. And if someone doesn't feel safe, it is on administration to figure out why and to address that. That is our number one priority. Not only you as students, but your parents, your loved ones, entrust us to make sure that this is a safe campus and to make sure as you matriculate through undergrad or grad, that you graduate and you feel supported along that journey. As it relates to my expectations that I'm setting tonight, I don't believe that they're lofty. I think that what we're talking about is, number one, bear with us, give us some grace, and allow us to interpret what the heck is going on at the federal and the state level. Number two, allow us in that interpretation to figure out, how we can navigate together in this new world. And number three, assuming that in the eyes of the feds, in the eyes of the state, DEI goes away, those dollars are not going to be swept. Those dollars are going to be redeployed to make sure that our students continue to be successful. But we don't know what it will ultimately look like. We don't know what it is that various areas are doing. We are trying to get our arms around that right now. And then was there a third or fourth piece to that?
I was going to say, if you don't feel that these are lofty expectations, then that means you also believe you'll be able to adhere to them, right?
Well, I don't think anybody can make promises right now, and I don't mean that to be sketchy or shady, is we don't know exactly what that law is going to be. We don't know that, these executive orders that are tied to Title VI, Title IV, are those going to hold up in a court of law? We don't know, are the feds, because this was another executive order suspending all awards, are they going to go after Pell? Is the state going to go after OCOG? We have to, again, understand, and then once we understand, we have to figure out how we work together to make sure what you've come to expect out of your University of Toledo, again, being open-minded, it is probably going to change, it is probably going to look different, but our goal is to make sure the outcomes are the same. And then as we navigate this together, and there's one perspective, mostly one perspective being shared tonight. There are other students that are on the completely opposite end of the spectrum that are going to say, hey, why aren't you doing this, that, or the other thing? And so we have to, number one, make sure that there's open and honest debate, but also that all students feel welcomed at the University of Toledo.
Much obliged.
Thank you, Josh, for your question initially. And can you tell me your name one more time?
Nico,
thank you. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Can I make, I'm gonna do two more questions. The reason why I'm gonna do two more questions is a little fun fact about the president. I get up at 4:15 in the morning, and this is bedtime. So, but I am happy to come back, happy to continue to work with student government, but if we could do just two more questions, and then we'll allow you to carry on with your meeting.
All right, can you hear me? Hi, I'm Majesty. We met before, the president of the Black Student Union.
Yes.
So I just want to go back to the question before all those other questions that happened, when you had discussed and you asked the group about taking down the post and the vote on that. So obviously my whole entire e-board is here, so we can all attest to that. That wasn't an official BSU protest. So I don't want it to look as if that was something that was physically planned. At the end of the day, like you said before, you believe in freedom of speech and you want students to speak, so that's what they did. You said that you enjoy it, you like when students are able to speak freely, so that's kind of what it was. But touching back on what Brooklyn had brought up, talking about what do we want and what we want to see, I believe that if we go back to last semester, me and you first met at the table alongside my VP, We talked about an EI plan, we talked about the student success plan, we talked about funding, we went over budgets, and now I see that none of that is happening. Yes, we do know that, I want to say back during December, you had 2 people from your office come to attend a Cocoa and Cram, and they went over the student success plan and asked for suggestions and changes, etc., and then said they would come back again with a new plan, and that never happened. So I think when you ask, what do we want to see, I think that it's a great idea to allow students to come sit with you and from different orgs and talk about what we want, but I do think that if you're going to hold promises, then that's a promise that needs to be kept. So once, I want everyone to know, I don't think that the post that was something just detrimental to the Black student community. At the end of the day, we're still going to do what we need to do, and my e-board will still move accordingly. But I think between me, you, my vice president, and we also have Brooklyn at your table, I do think that we need to meet again because that's what I want to see. You asked what the students want, that's what I want to see. I want to see that plan that was in motion. I want to see all the funding that we discussed. I want to see that back on the table. And not just for my org, but other orgs as well. That I see that GLSU and Saga are in the room and they're able to have a seat at your table as well and discuss how they feel. So that's what I would like to see. But thank you.
Dr. Span, real quick, the meeting in the fall and the funding conversation, did we not address that, or did we?
Well, when the students met with Angela for the success plan, they are still going through the ballot consent, so the success plan is being placed together. Scott is working on the actual budget, but with everything with the Senate bill, that is just causing some delays on the decision already. So we have to wait to see what's going to roll out.
Okay, offline I want to follow up with the other part of that question though, because I thought we were going to do something in the fall. We can talk offline, but I thought there was a funding component in the fall coming out of that meeting as well, and it sounds like that didn't happen. But we can talk offline. So then with the student success plan, they've met, Angela's finalizing it or moving it on to the next draft. I know we're going to talk about it here in the next couple of weeks. Is there going to be another discussion? Okay.
Imagine there just hold another sit down. The funding that was discussed is the funding that we can say it now has been approved. David Young and Leah creating a council that is going to have funding to help student organizations. That has not been activated yet.
Okay, but that's part of the plan?
That's part of the plan. That's part of what we commit to the students, so we just have not gotten to where those funds have been released.
Okay, okay. All right, who's going to get the last question of the night?
I only saw Tyler, so he'll get the last question. And I just want to thank everybody for your questions. Really appreciate it. And this is during our meeting time as student government. And I'll finish what I have to say after Tyler. That's his question.
Thank you again for coming out tonight and taking time out of your schedule. So I think a big question is on people's minds is like threats of like deportation for students. Like what I guess is your intention, or would you intend to protect students that are terrified that they could be deported unjustly?
Yeah. I'll start with sort of a high level, and then I don't know, Sammy, if we've had conversations with Rod on what that looks like. So this is tied to ICE and others going around, right? And the conversation from a month or so ago about potentially going into K through 12 institutions. Universities, K through 12, have to be safe places. And I heard, and yes, I listen to the radio. I know many of you probably don't, but I think from an immigration, customs, enforcement, whatever the new normal is, there, in my opinion, are higher priorities than going after young people in K through 12 and higher ed. That's just my opinion. I think as a university, and I guess this will be one of those questions where I need to follow up with leadership because I don't know the answer of where is that line in the sand. Can they come onto campus? Can they come onto campus just in public spaces? Can they actually go into the classroom? I don't know, but I'll follow up. But my general view of what is going on with immigration, and I know that is also a hotly contested subject, is within, again, whether it's post-secondary, elementary, high school, I think that would be a lower priority in the eyes of the feds, but that's just me trying to think through all the other things that they have to work through. But we can get an answer to that question.
Thank you very much.
So my appreciation to all of you tonight for coming out. I think I've heard this is an unusually large group, which is great. I hope that you will give us time to work through this. I do appreciate the feedback and some of the suggestions. I know Katie has probably written those down. But when we talk about support, when we talk about how do we feel welcomed as a community, as we go forward, I would say to all of you and to any students in the state of Ohio and beyond, is you have to look at what the university, your faculty, your staff, your administration are doing in this new normal to make sure that, again, you continue to feel welcome, you continue to feel safe, the ability to celebrate differences is still embraced. But again, just would encourage everyone to be in the mindset of what that looks like. It's probably going to be a little bit different than current state, but I do like the idea of working through this as we know more together. I'd look to Sammy to help, lead the student piece of it, but making sure that, we do it the right way. We have one opportunity to get it right. I'm sure many institutions will jump and make some irrational decisions. I want to make sure our decisions are thoughtful. So thank you again. Really appreciate you. Appreciate your belief in the University of Toledo, and go Rockets.
All right, I want to thank you all again for showing up and showing out. I want to offer you one last resource. My name is Lucas Will. I'm the current student body president. I'm going to give you a phone number if you had a question tonight that we did not have time to ask President Schroeder. It is my personal cell phone number, and please, if you have anything else that you want us to ask, us to bring up, get your phone out right now, and I'll give you my number. Wait a second, but that is 419-799-2915. Anybody need a repeat? 419-799-2915. You can also reach out to the UTSG Instagram. We really appreciate y'all being here. We're going to have a little bit of an open floor at the beginning of our general body meeting, so that if you have any questions that you want to address to the whole of student government, you may. But right now, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Should I have a motion?
Motion to recess?
Sorry. So we'll meet back in here in 5 minutes.
I don't care.
For our general body meeting.
Nobody told me you were doing it.